Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us for today's press conference. We're going to go straight ahead into media questions. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll get the microphone to you so everyone can hear you.
Just for both of you, just with such a long layoff, what is your biggest concern going into this game?
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, there's always probably the biggest thing is just overall speed of the game. You practice with each other as much as you possibly can to try to keep the speed of the game, but then you always run into the element of guys getting tired of practicing against each other and want to go play somebody else. You run into that in camp, you run into that in spring practice, and then you run into it in the bowl preparation as well. So, I guess speed of the game would be the only one.
What was the question? I didn't hear what you.
Long layoff over 30 days.
Well, I mean, my biggest concern is their explosiveness is what I would be concerned about. But it's exciting to play a great opponent. I don't know. I really don't sit around worrying about concerns. We're working too hard to get prepared for a really good team, and we've had such a great experience, this week, and everything's been first class. And probably the biggest concern is want our guys, our seniors, to play well. You want them to go out and perform well, and have a great day. That's the big thing. And most of the things that I'm concerned about is, worried about, defending them and trying to be successful.
Next question?
Really, my next press conference.
For both coaches, again, familiarity with systems. Obviously, there are a lot of changes, but are there similarities from what you've seen in past meetings?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the
You obviously have faced each other often,
Yeah.
and you've both changed schemes somewhat since then, but are there familiarities when you look at film from what each of you have done in the past?
Yeah, I think everybody evolves. The only one I think the only coach in the country that hasn't evolved would be Mike Leach. He's the one that just keeps doing the same thing that he's been doing for over and over again.
Yeah.
Coach Graham defensively is known across the country as one of the better ones out there, and he's evolved into taking a few more risks, I think. Just based on the amount of times that they blitz and put pressure on you it seems every single down they're putting pressure on you. And I think we've evolved offensively, to the point to where we're utilizing our better players a little bit more than we have in the past. It just happens to be tight ends and fullbacks and stuff like that. So I think that's just coaching. You find out what your guys do and what you're comfortable with and what you feel good about calling. If it works, then you probably want to keep calling it. So it's one of the fun things about doing what we do is being able to do different things and experiment with things and figuring out what you do well.
Yeah, I think, I would agree with Coach. I think if you don't evolve, you die, and we're, obviously you watch, every year you're trying to, I focus more, and I'm sure Coach the same way, on what you got to do to try to win your league. And so you adapt to really, to that. And, it's, I think that it's watching the Big 12, it reminds me a lot of the Pac12. I mean, it is both leagues are very difficult to play defense in. I mean, it is very, very difficult, a lot of explosive offenses, and so we've definitely, are a lot different than we used to be, and it's just adapting to what we're trying to figure out ways to win games. And I think that they're the same way. I mean, you adapt to your players and to their skills and talents, and you try to figure out a way to win games. I think that's, but definitely I would look at both of our systems and say we've evolved quite a bit. So, that, like Coach said, I think that's a fun part of the game, but you have to do that. If you don't, it makes it difficult to be successful.
Any other questions?
Well, don't practice, I guess, you know. The trick is once the season's over, we played all the way up until that first week in December. It's a long season, you know, so you got to give these guys a little bit of time off. You know, after the season's over, you got to get them healed up, rested up. You got to keep timing. I think it's overstated a little bit that you can turn it into a spring practice and practice your young guys. I think that's a little bit exaggerated. You know, and then you gotta get a good week of practice in. So I think everybody does probably about the same thing. They get about 2 weeks of practice for your opponent as opposed to one throughout the season. It's more like a bye week probably than it is anything. You know, you got a week of finals that you got to deal with as well. So I've never peaked out too early. I've not had the guys prepared to play before, but I've never had them peaked out too early.
Yeah, I think I agree with. I mean, you know, the whole process is you know, getting you guys, you know, healed up. You know, the season's so grueling. You know, it's very, very difficult, and you know, I think people don't realize, you know, how difficult it is to be a student athlete. You know, the time and the, you know, especially they spend to be successful academically, as well as the time that it takes to compete at this level, and then the physicality of it. You know, how hard it is on their bodies and stuff. So we have pretty much the same schedule, and you know, it's all about, you know, to me, you know, getting your guys ready is all about, you know, each person's, you know, how bad do you want to do it? How bad you want it? And so, you know, I always, it's like this one thing I've done my whole career. I always walk around before the game. I couldn't wait to be a head coach. I thought I was going to be in control of everything, and then you get to be a head coach and you don't have really control over much at all. And I always ask them, are they ready? Are they ready? Are they ready? And then half the time our strength coach says, yeah, they're ready, and then we have our worst game, you know. So I never know. You know, it's such an you know, emotional thing, but the key to being successful is consistently being ready to play and loving this game and recruiting kids and coaching kids to, you know, to play with a great deal of passion. And so, you know, I never ever think about, you know, whether we're peaking or not peaking. And you know, our schedule's about the same. I think we probably had about 14 days practice, you know, and spent about 2 weeks getting ready.
Well, we both play 9 conference games. That's more than a couple of the other conferences play. So that probably means maybe a little bit more competitive football games. You know, you look at studying. You know, this is the first Pac12 team that we've played. I don't remember the last time that West Virginia's played a Pac12 game, but. First one in about 5 years since Coach Graham's been here that I've been able to kind of really study the Pac-12, and it's changed considerably. When we were at Oklahoma State, we played Arizona in the Alamo Bowl, and you could look at the Pac-12 games, and it was a different conference. It was more tight ends, fullbacks, traditional pro-style offense, old West Coast style offense. And 5 years later, being able to study the Pac-12 now, you know, largely because Coach Graham comes in, Coach Rodriguez comes in. A lot of the coaching changes have made it more, you know, wide open, up-tempo. You know, what you really think of Oregon, you know, is kind of up and down the West Coast and then the Pac-12. So it's changed considerably, and it's very similar to what the Big 12 is. But you know, why one got left out, I don't know, just because it's so competitive. I mean, every game that you'd study with these guys is competitive as heck. And it's very similar to the Big 12 because of the competition. Wish everybody had played 9 conference games. I think it'd be fair.
Next question.
Todd, you were known as a defensive guy, day and night offense. The opportunity you became head coach, was it difficult to learn the other side? And you obviously had to learn. Was that a learning
I mean, I was very fortunate. I got an opportunity, I started off as a high school coach and being a high school head coach. And we coached both sides of the ball. You coached everything. And so I kind of learned growing up that way. And you just got to have a belief in what you believe in, and I don't just hire an offensive coordinator and say, run whatever you want to run. I have a belief in it myself. And then I've learned over the years, how to do that. I think sometimes, I would watch and see, a lot of defensive-minded coaches tend to, jerk their quarterback out every 5 minutes and then, fire their offensive coordinator all the time. And so I've never fired one. I pretty much, try to give them the latitude that I want as a defensive play caller. So you just do the things that you do well. When I first got to be a head coach, everybody tell you, you need to be a CEO, you need to do all this stuff. And I think it's different for everybody. I coach the corners, and but I'm still involved in everything that we do. But it's just not, I think I learned that you got to believe in it's an overall program, what you believe in. And, I've been a no-huddle guy from the time I, was a head coach in, I guess, 1994 or something like that, in high school. So, I've had a philosophy of what we believe in, and the no-huddle is about physicality. And it is difficult. I think it's completely changed the game. And, it hasn't been difficult for me. I think it's difficult at this level. When you get at this level where we're at, it's hard. The difference between winning and losing is, very, very small. And so it's just getting the right guys and then keeping them. That's a challenge. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I'd say.
Well, Coach is a defensive guy, and he's been pretty damn good on offense for a long time. And when that happens, you lose those coaches. You got to replace them. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. I think my philosophy is probably a little bit different defensively. I tried to piece it together and failed. So I think you got to get a guy. My opinion, you got to get a guy on defense, and you just got to trust him to do his job. And that's what we've done with Coach Gibson, and he's got something that's unique that goes back with a lot of the same background as Coach Graham back in the West Virginia days, and he's got something that he believes in, and that's what he's going to do. So if you're comfortable with it, you know how to call it, you know how to make adjustments to it, and you know how to recruit to it, then that's probably your best chance to be successful. It's tough in today's day and time.